Greetings, YouTube. Let's talk about pirates. My wife and I are currently in the process of watching the show Our Flag Means Death. We're going to finish up the first season this weekend and probably begin the second. I tend to watch two episodes at a time, and then I get bored with something, and I'll move on to something else. Um, and while watching that show, I had already begun reading this book of on pirates, which was just happenstance. It wasn't planned that way. When I began to read this, I didn't know my wife had an interest in it, and then she's expressed an interest in it, so we started to watch it. Um, and this is Under the Black Flag: The Romance and Reality of Life Among the Pirates by David Cordingley. And I suggest this book to anyone that wants to run a pirate game, or at least have transportation that would possibly encounter pirates. It's not a huge book. It is very depressing. Be aware of that. Real pirates were not as nice as the fictional ones would have you believe. They're not like the pirates in Our Flag Means Death. They were murderers and rapists and torturers and slavers. Not nice people. However, it does give you a really good idea of what might happen to a group of player characters on a ship, whether they're passengers or they own the ship, if they encounter pirates. Because most times pirates significantly outmanned the ships they were encountering. Like a crew on board a merchant ship, even if it had passengers as well, could maybe only have 20 people. Whereas a pirate ship coming up on them may have 80 and could have 4 or 5 times as many cannons. So most of the time, they would just surrender and hope for the best, because if they fought, they knew they were going to die. Um, So say for example, in the event that a party found themselves on in such a situation, the captain may say, "Okay, I need you to take some information with you. Take our cabin boy and get the hell off this ship." Puts him on the longboat and shoves him into the ocean with some supplies, giving them the logbooks, the journals, his journals, and a compass, in the hopes that they can and maps, the hopes that they can get to safety. Because he doesn't want those things to fall into the hands of the pirates, because those things are considered very valuable by pirates. Maps and charts and manifests of cargo and things like that. Take those away from the pirate, it makes their life more miserable. It also means that, quite frankly, the captain may not survive, but I think a captain could make that judgment call under many circumstances. But it doesn't just have to be on the high seas. This would also be applicable whether you have sky pirates, or whether you're doing a Spelljammer game, or even if you want to do something more like Firefly and you're going to get completely out of the real world stuff or the high fantasy stuff and go into high space fantasy or into even a hardcore science fiction. Um, just the mindset of pirates, the brutality, the drug and alcohol abuse, the carousing, the short lifespans, the fact that most pirates ended up swinging at the end of a rope. They did not have long lives, and very few of them got to retire. It did happen in a few cases, um, but it's a good read. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it's depressing. But if you're going to do a pirate-themed game, I think if you just want a single source to give you a good, solid understanding of what pirate life was like, this could be it. You could just one and done, and you'll be able to pull off a pirate campaign that's going to have considerably more depth than a lot of adventures are going to present to you when it comes to pirate encounters. Because I've seen pirate encounters and such in adventures, and they all come across as very whitewashed, as very stripped of their reality, which is for the good, because again, murderers, rapists, torturers, and slavers. But if you're running a game that's a little bit more realistic, or at least you want to hint at those dangers, this might be a source of at least giving you some inspiration and some ideas that could really make that segment of a campaign, if it is only a portion, very memorable, or really gives your game some depth if it is a sea-based or you know, flying ships or spelljammers or what have you. All of those are quite open to piracy, and I feel that this book would be applicable for inspiration and for a nice solid base in something vaguely resembling reality. Because I'm always a firm believer that no matter how fantastical your game is, anything that isn't fantastical should be based in reality. Okay, I can accept fireballs, but I want dogs to behave like dogs. I can accept flying carpets, but I want a halberd to function like a halberd. All right, so there should be things based in reality because otherwise, if it becomes pure fantasy, it becomes a much different thing, and I don't much have interest in it, and I don't think a lot of people do either. If it's just endless things that have no bearing or resemblance to our lives, it is going to have a hard time pulling someone in. So go read about some pirates. I don't think you're going to regret getting the information. Though I got to tell you, it's depressing.